everyone, and welcome to the Let's Talk show here on UrbanCast. I'm Jack, and tonight we have the distinct pleasure of speaking with Dr. Ray Franklin Sr., the esteemed pastor of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church here in Alexandria, and also the president of the Concerned Church Coalition of Central Louisiana. Dr. Franklin, thank you for joining us this evening. Your work in the community is truly inspiring, and we're so grateful for your time, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, Dr. Franklin, as we get started, can you tell us a little bit about who Dr. Franklin is and a little bit about what Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church and the Concerned Church Coalition is actually doing here in the city, right quick?
Okay. Well, the first thing that I want to emphatically say when you ask me about who uh,
Hmm.
I am a child of God. I am a Christian, and my faith is in the Lord Jesus Christ. I want to make sure that that's clear.
Okay.
That's why I'm foremost. Uh, I am a licensed social worker. I worked in the school system for over 28 years. Matter of fact, I just retired from the school system a year, and it's been a year and a month now. Uh,
Mhm.
Working with kids in the school system, counseling, doing behavior plans, and working with teachers and showing them how to do work with kids and give them strategies. So I'm a licensed social worker.
Mhm.
I am the president of the Concerned Church Coalition, and that's a group of churches that have come together in the community, no particular denomination, just all across ethnic background and culture, to make a difference in the community for the cause of Christ. Whether that's establishing mentoring programs, tutorial programs, just being with kids and helping to give parents insight about kids and different and things of that nature. So that's what we do with the Concerned Church Coalition. And I've been the pastor of the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church for about 28 over 28 years. I'm elated to be the pastor of Shiloh Baptist Church. So God has had me there for at least 28 years. I'm married also for 28 years, over 28 years, to Karen Franklin. We have one daughter, Raquel Franklin, aka Rocky. Uh,
Mhm.
so, so that's about it for me.
Okay, all right. Well, Dr. Franklin, I guess we want to dive directly on into what we're here to talk about. And can you tell us a little bit before we get into asking some of the questions? And I'm gonna talk about this up front, and then we'll talk about it a little bit on the back end as well. But you guys are getting ready to have a program here in January, dealing with young folk, ages what 12 to 40. You
Yes.
define 40 as being young these days. So what is this program? What is the program all about, sir?
Well, the program, Mr. Hinton, it's designed to really put the microphone in the hands of that group. Uh,
Hmm.
we're coming together, and we want to really give them the microphone, and they talk about how there's a lot of violence, a lot of crime, not
Hmm.
only in the city of Alexandria, but this is just basically all across America. And
Hmm.
young people are being affected, in particular, African American males, in particular in Alexandria.
Hmm.
But our young people in that age group, they've either seen somebody hurt, even died as a result. A lot of violence, a lot of crime. And sometimes what we do, we come and we share what we think the problem is. But this program is designed to put the mic in their hands, tell us how they have been affected by this crime and affected by the violence that's in the community. And then we're asking them to give us suggestions and solutions. And we'll have city officials there. Hopefully, if the mayor is available, he'll be there, and all of the high city officials. Hopefully, if they could attend, but they need to hear what our young people are saying. So many times, like I said, we presented information to them, but they're going to have the mic and they're going to talk. They will talk, and then they will give solutions. We will encourage them to give solutions and suggestions what they think will make the community better in terms of crime and violence among their age group. We'll have somebody there taking notes. The officials will be there. Community leaders will be there. And then after it's all said and done, we want to take their suggestions, their solutions that they feel for the problem, and take it before those officials. And we want to establish some type of action plan. We know there's a lot of action plans out there, but based upon what they say, young people between that age 12 and 40, we want to create an action plan and make it happen. And I'm interested to see what they're going to say, because so many times we know what some of the problems are, but so many times we've brought in speakers, but it won't be a speaker this time. It'll just be them holding the mic and telling us how they feel about the crime and the violence that in the community. Because I'm quite sure there will be some who have had relatives to die, go to jail or whatever as a result of what's going on in the community.
Right. When we talk about the program that you guys are having, from 12, 14 to 40, that's a big span.
Hmm.
Um, facing the young adults. How do you think? And I want to. My first question here is specifically those teens up to the age of 20. How can the church and community organizations like the Concerned Church Coalition best support them in areas like mental health, academic stress, and navigating these identities? Because those are some of the when you do some of the research out here, those are some of the areas where uh, the teens seem to be very challenging. So, how do you think the church can assist them, at at that earlier age?
Well, one of the things, Brother Jack, that I've been focused on, and I've been saying over and over again, that if we can establish strong mentoring program, and in particular from the church, one of the things that I think is very effective is if that, just say if I ask you to mentor a kid for just spend 1 hour a week
Hmm.
for a whole year. The research has said that if we do that, if a person do that with a child that's even between that age group, young person, and if they have behavior problem, mental challenging things that's going on, that you'll see a big improvement. So it's been my thing to really establish a mentoring program. We have a mentoring program, but it's somewhat inactive. But I'm thinking that if we had one in the school system, in the junior high, it was a pilot program where we would go in the system and choose about, well, it was at Arthur Smith, and you had clergies come in from the community. You had fraternities come in, and they would just take out about 3 or 4 kids out of the classroom with a curriculum and talk about various things like how to handle conflict, um, how to manage your anger. And when they did that for 1 year, they piloted, I think it was 25 kids who were having behavior issues and who've been suspended and expelled from school. Did that for 1 year. Out of those 25 kids, not one, now listen at this, not one of those kids were expelled within that year that they came in to mentor those kids. So I think that not only doing that in the school system, but doing it in the church, and we have done it in the church. That was a time when the church would have, and some churches still probably have this, have their own tutorial program where your child having problems with academics. They can go to the church, and some of the retired teachers would be the tutors for those kids. So mentoring and tutorial program, that's been a strong thing. I think also, and what we've tried to do too as a Concerned Church Coalition is partner with the school system, because here I am, a um, a pastor in the community and a social worker, and the school system. So we try to bring that together and sit down with the superintendents, and I've done it with several superintendents, even the current superintendent, and see how we can work together, the church, the community, and the school system for the benefit and the betterment of the children.
Yeah, you know, and it's amazing how, you know, something like a mentorship, and I know we are very big proponents over here at Urban Cast
Mhm.
with recreational, and how you know, the discipline and the you know, the teamwork and different things, even in the recreational space. You know, it helps to mold these young men and young women
Yes,
into, you know, really upstanding citizens in the community. And these things are, you know, really, they're just some of the things that we just do. And it's really, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, putting them in the motion. It's not like they're going to cost us a whole lot of money, but they have a big return on that investment if we really start pushing the mentorship, the recreational activities. I tell you what, over the last 2 or 3 years, you know, our following the local sports with Coach Smith at Peabody, Coach Sears at Pineville, Coach Bachman, Brasher over at Ash. You
hmm,
know, you know, those things that are happening, and the discipline that you see with those various teams and all of that kind of good stuff is just 100% amazing.
that's
Uh,
right.
you know, and the idea, you know, you say, hey, first I believe in God. You know, I'm a Christian first. Is really good when you see the coaches say, okay, boys, let's pray.
That's right. That's right. You're right. And
Yeah.
you know, I had, you know, we talked about this mentoring, spending 1 hour, uh,
Mhm.
1 hour with a with a person, you know, that's in that age bracket. I did it one time. I spent 1 hour a week with a young man, and well, he was like maybe 7, 8 grade, and I
Mhm.
did that in about 3, 4 months. His
Mhm.
behavior began to change drastically. As a matter of fact, after about 3 or 4 months of doing that, he moved to Texas, and his mother sent me an invitation some years later that he was graduating from high school. They had moved him up 2 grades, and now that's, you know, when you hear things like that, that's rewarding, and you see the outcome of doing that. But
Right. Right.
but but he sent me an invitation to his graduation. Uh,
Wow.
you know,
Wow. I mean, and you know, and those are, again, it didn't take nothing but that 1 hour of your time, and
that's right.
you know, that's that 30 minute going somewhere and 30 minutes coming back on something, but it put a spark in the young person. You know what I mean? And
That's right. That's right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we did go to one time we did go to Peabody High basketball game, you know, and he enjoyed that. And
Mhm,
it's not so much too of just going to various places, you know. If you teach him how to tie a tie, you know, like a young man that doesn't know how to tie a tie, you
mhm,
know, you teach him how to interview for a job. I mean, there's
mhm.
just so many different things that you can do during that 1 hour
That
time.
one hour time, and just, you know, that 1 hour is gone, just like, you know, the flicker is gone, but yet and still you've planted a seed that lasts a lifetime.
Certainly,
Right,
certainly.
right, right. Well, you know, hey, that's good. That's I'm feeling it. For those young adults that are, you know, 20 to 30, they say financial stability and career development are often top of the priority. How can the coalition empower this demographic to overcome challenges like student loan debt, find fulfilling careers, and achieve their financial goals? And I want to give you a little bit more about now, that's my question. But one of the things that, you know, if I had to make an observation here, when I'm talking to that age group, you know, I hear you know, just the lack of opportunities here.
Hmm,
You
hmm.
know, Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Dallas, those are some of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the country. And what they're doing is they're taking the resources that the Rapides Parish School System, LSUA, Louisiana Christian University, all of these other universities are producing. We export these goods to somebody else. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm.
For them to benefit. What can we do to try to keep those resources here? You know, I'm trying to keep it real with you. That's what they tell
I
us.
got you. I got you. I think we need to provide, and I'm talking from the community standpoint and from the church standpoint. We
Mhm.
need to provide more training with our young people, training on how to apply for a job, training on, what do you say when you go on an interview, presentations. And one of the things we were doing with the coalition is, some of these companies around, Rapides Parish, Alexandria, we would touch base with the managers of those companies, and we would say, "Can you give us, your list of vacancy?" And then when we come back and train our young people, we tell them these jobs are open, and we've already touched base with them, and then we train them how to go and apply for these jobs. And we tell the manager that they're coming. And so the jobs are already open. They don't have to work that hard to go put in applications. They have to go in, and look and apply. But we've already done some of the legwork for them. And so they would, like I say, they would give us their opening and what they have available, whatever they had. If it's Walmart, if it's a manager at Walmart, if whatever, a clerk, whatever it is, we would have that information. And then when we do the presentation, we would present and say these things are available. These companies have these particular jobs available to you.
Well, that sounds a whole lot like in Hinds County, there in Mississippi, around the Jackson area, uh,
Hmm.
Reverend Franklin. That area attracted Nissan, a Nissan manufacturing operation, Firestone Bridgestone operation.
Okay.
And one of the big things was, finding the available resources to fill all of those good jobs, those living wage jobs that were there. And one of the things that the Hines Community College system there did was they partnered with the local ministers in the Jackson area, and they created a bridge concept.
Mm.
Whereas when these young people went to work, the ministers and all of those kind of the clergy was, really closely intertwined
There you
with
go.
not only keeping them in the pipeline when they were going, to Hines for training, but
Hmm.
also when they went off to start working in the professional, environment. They had a support network, and it was the church that stepped in and made that bridge happen. It's a young lady just put something out here. She said it's definitely time for the church to take their place at the head of the communities. What you say about that, Reverend Franklin?
I mean, there are. I agree with the
Hmm.
person, and
Hmm.
there are some churches that are doing it. But one
Hmm.
of the things we have to learn to do, we have to learn to pull. See, this is the problem I've seen. We
Hmm.
haven't, from my own area and perspective,
Yes,
uh,
sir.
we have not come together, and
Hmm.
that's what the coalition is about, coming together and pulling our resources together and pulling the power that we have together, because there's power in number. What I've seen is you got various ministries or organization on this side of the city or this side of the parish, and they're struggling with income. But we have a lot of power and strength if we will pull these things together. And I'm quite sure, Mr. Hinton, you've come across other ministries that are doing some of the same things that we're trying to do. But can you imagine that if we just come together, and pull the money together, pull the resource together, you know, the impact that we can have on the community. So there are some churches that are in the community trying to do something, and then there are some that have never come out of the church. I heard Dr. Tony Evans once said, if the church where you attend
Hmm.
was to shut down, will the community miss you?
Oh,
So that's a challenging question that I'm challenged. Will the
well,
community miss you, your congregation, if you just completely close the doors?
right, right, right. Well, you know that wow, that's that. You know, all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna leave that one right there where. I'm not gonna touch it. But you see some churches are stepping out there, and it's you hit the nail on the head. We have that power right within our own selves. We really
That's
don't
right.
have to wait on nobody. We
That's
can
right.
just start doing it ourselves.
That's right.
And in that tidal wave of us just doing it, you either gonna get on the board or you're gonna just get on the sideline because the that wave is coming in and it ain't stopping. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's
And
right.
I think that's the way we really need to we really need to operate.
You
Um.
know, when we got established as a coalition, one of the things I said to the pastors who were a part of it, uh,
Hmm.
I, I said, let's do Bible study together sometime. You know, it was like five churches when we got started.
Hmm.
Let's worship on the fifth Sunday together. And somebody said, so how are we gonna fund the things that we want to do in the community? I said, let me give you just one way of doing it. When we come together at five churches on the fifth Sunday, uh, when we collect the love offering, that put that love offering into an account, and then that'll fund some of the things we want to do. It's it's simple if we would come together. That's the whole thing.
Well, we talking you talking about this coming together. Today is December the 26th, and it's the first day of Kwanzaa, and the fundamental the teachings there are unity on the first day. And it's kind of interesting we having this conversation.
That's right.
And some people say, Kwanzaa, oh, it's something new, it's a fake thing, or whatever. So everything had to have a starting, and it started in 1966. So I think that
Mhm.
makes it about what 56 or 58 years old by right now, and it's sticking in there. So eventually, it's gonna get some age on it. But
That's
right
right.
now, it has stood the test of time, and the first principle is unity. And it's kind of interesting to hear you say that. That's for
Hmm.
sure. Yep, yep, yep. And as we move on to those individuals that are 30 and 40, balancing that uh, the career, their aging parents, and then them struggling with the economic issues that that might be plaguing them.
Hmm.
What advice or what you know if you're inviting them to the event that you guys are having on January it's the 6th, right?
Yes, yes.
On
This
the 6th.
Saturday at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. What do you think what do you have what comments you have about those folk that are 30 to 40?
Well, you mentioned, balancing the family responsibility in that age,
Hmm.
career growth and aging parent, that can be quite demanding.
Hmm. Yeah.
When I was growing up, um, my grandfather was my main mentor in terms of a man because I came out of a single parent home. And he would share, and I'm quite sure those who are tuning in and watching, some of them, but probably he would share things that struggles that he went through, and give me advice on how to deal with some of the same issues you mentioned. So, long story short, I think if the group could find somebody who has already been through the struggle,
Hmm.
somebody who has been through that struggle, and and overcame those particular things that you mentioned, and give, and they sit on the people like that, and we used to have them, as we say back in the day, and listen to their advice and how they cope with certain situations. Uh, that's a that's a strong thing. I just I gleaned from my grandfather a lot of things that he said. My grandmother uh, died after they had been married 44 years, and then he had to raise and then he had to raise some of the kids, but
Mhm.
he shared 15 kids.
Wow, that's a big family.
Yes. And he shared some of the stories of what he did and how he, overcame a lot of his struggle. And I gleaned from that, and I practiced and put to practice some of those things that he told me, and they were helpful to me in my life.
Uh-huh.
So that's a great thing. I would suggest, first of all. I would also suggest that prioritizing, that's important. I
Mhm.
used to tell young people, say, you need to prioritize. Just don't try to do everything at one time because of all the things you're going through. Set some objectives, set some goals. Uh,
Mhm.
you ask the average person in that age group, uh, what do you expect to be doing in the next 2 to 5 years? Uh, some of them may know, some of them may not know. I asked a particular person in that age group one time, what do you want to do in the next, 2, 3 years? He replied, buy polo shirts. That's
Mhm.
not a goal. I'm talking about, do you want to have a college degree? Do you want to be working, on a nice job, making a good income? So prioritize, set objective, uh, short-term goals, long-term goals, which is very important. But going back to that one about getting advice from an elderly person or somebody who has already been through your struggle, I think that would be very, very helpful.
And that reminds me of a movie. Yesterday, I took some downtime,
Hmm.
and I just watched movies yesterday. And one of the movies that I watched on yesterday was The Forge, and
Good.
it's a very good movie. And I would encourage all of the folk who listening to us right now. It's on Netflix, and
Hmm.
to go check it out. But it was about this young man who was being raised by a single mother, and he graduated from high school, and video games was the number one priority. And, and just doing the things that normal teenagers do.
Hmm.
And he took a job, and he had a boss, and the guy had a program, and it was a group of guys that came together, and they sit down, and it was all biblical based too. It
You're
was
right. I saw it.
You saw it as well, huh?
Oh, it was powerful.
It really was. I think when I get off the phone, when I get off this call with you, I'm gonna go watch it again. But it was a very powerful one, and
Hmm.
and and again, it's that concept of reaching back and teaching.
Hmm.
Those folk who have been there, done that, and those young men that were there, they were just like sponges
That's
because
right.
they were sitting around the same tables with the president of the company,
There you
and
go.
yeah, everybody was there. There was no secret. Boy, you get over here.
That's
No,
right.
they was right there with them, and it just bred a whole different dynamic of young people
And
by.
you saw with that young. I'm sorry, but you saw with the man that owned the company how he spent that time with that young man. And those who didn't see the movie yet, I don't want to give.
I hope it inspired him to go check that movie out because it really was inspiring.
But the time spent
Oh
that
yeah,
made the difference.
and it was just a dinner. What did they do? Like a dinner a month, or maybe every 2 weeks or something like that. I don't remember, but
Yes, it was on a regular basis, whether it was 2 weeks or once a month.
uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was an awesome movie. But it was
Yes.
that concept of reaching and having people who have gone through and helping them to find to create that path forward.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it was really good. It's going to be interesting. I'm gonna be in your audience. I'm gonna play like I'm less than 40, but I'm gonna be there and come
No,
check you
no,
out.
no. You can, it's for the community, it's for anybody.
Uh
But
huh.
the mic would go in the hands of the 12 to 40 years old.
I hear you. I hear you. We
And
want it.
so anybody can come. It's open for the community, but we want to hear that age group, from 12 to 40. It's open for anybody.
Yeah,
So,
here's a quote. Here's a guy made a comment. He says we need to address this from a federal level down to the state level. Almost all of these problems are downstream and not having two-parent households and raising kids without a father. One of the, in some senses that is a very true statement. But from a top-down level on down, we put programs in places in the 70s to move the fathers out of the house. And I guess the question is, are we now acknowledging that we did it, and are we planning to reverse some of those decisions that we put in place? To say, hey, in public housing where father was there, and we put him out of the house, and we opened the jailhouse doors and that kind of thing. Are we, from a society, from the top down, are we ready to begin to address some of those questions as well?
hmm hmm well, I hope we are,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it is a problem. But
Mm-hmm.
while we're waiting to have those problems addressed, we need
Mm-hmm.
to be doing something in the meantime.
Yes,
I,
sir.
I mean, like I mentioned before, I got five siblings and six people in my family. My mother raised us by herself, and none of us been to jail. I mean, and this is, trust me, this is all glory and praise to God. None of us been to jail. None of us were on drugs or drinking. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there was one brother who was a pastor who got into what John Lewis said, good trouble.
Good trouble. Yep, yep.
He took a stand for what he believed in,
Yes,
and
sir.
and why, because he refused to not he took a stand for his faith, and wind up being in contempt of court. But that was good trouble. So I certainly agree with that person who put that comment there. But in the
Mm-hmm.
meantime, we need to be doing something to make a difference, and we need to be pulling together. You know, uh, I believe, Brother Jack, that when our ancestors, I'm talking about African American ancestors, came over on those slave boats, that although it was painful and they were chained, that they were helping each other, and with the struggles that they were going through. And even back in the time of slavery, when they were picking cotton, they knew how to help the person who wasn't as strong and didn't pick as much, because they were getting in trouble. But they helped each other. And we need to go back to that same mentality, to learn to pull together and help one another. And the federal government coming on down, that's all good. And I certainly agree with that. But let's make an impact where we are too.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, look here. Here we had another one. So I guess we weren't the only ones watch that movie. Mr. Gale said, "Don't spoil it for those who haven't seen it." And then he put a LOL on it. I'm gonna say you can't spoil it.
You
It was.
did that, Mr. Hinton. I
I, I hope I didn't spoil it, because you know what? It was inspiring, and it was actually two movies. I have another one I'm gonna talk about now while we're talking about. It was also the 688. Those it was a group of female soldiers that was all black. I think it was over 800 of them that addressed a very fundamental issue in the military, and it's a Tyler Perry movie, but it was based upon a true story. And one of the strongest parts about that movie was when one of the I think she was still living at the time. At the time, I think she's since passed, but she said something to the fact that she never would have thought that we'd be sitting here talking about praising them for the job that they did on something so fundamental, and that
Mm,
was to make sure the soldiers during World War II get the mail. Well, I tell you what, this soldier will tell you that one of the most important things in basic training was mail call. When you got some connection with home and when you could send something home, and that was really important. And those ladies, those soldiers actually did it. And I'd encourage everybody to go watch that one as well. So I would take that plug too.
You gonna
Um,
spoil that one for him too?
I ain't gonna spoil it because I tell you what, I think I might just go sit down and watch it again tonight. No, I'm just telling you what the headers are in it.
You're right. I got you.
Yeah, yeah. I ain't spoiling it because I tell you what, it's really and then my boy is is no one answer, but we all can do something to in the meantime.
That's right.
That's kind of what you said.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep, yep. Listen, how does the Concerned Church Coalition work with young people to identify and, uh, as we go forward? You stated that you guys are going to have those young people are going to be making their statements and that kind of thing. It's going to be the church's responsibility or the coalition's responsibility to take that as a sense of action items. Um, how do you envision, since it hadn't happened yet, but how do you envision those things that the young people say are the issues? How do you believe that that's going to work? How are y'all going to take that and work with folk that are on the council, on the jury, the mayor, the president of the jury,
Mhm.
state officials? How is that all going to work? What's your vision, that Dr. Franklin?
Well, first of all, we hope that we'll get as much representation from, from the city official,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can hear. See,
Mm-hmm.
it's imperative that they hear. They've heard from us as community leaders and pastors, but to hear from this age group. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I would hope that as many as possible will be there so that they can hear the cry and the voice of these young people who have been affected by crime and the violence in this community. So I think that alone will make an impact. But we have a committee that's going to be at the front. Our job will, sitting at the table and listening, as well as those who are in the audience and the community. Our job is not to grab the mic and or answer questions. We want to hear them. And
Mm-hmm.
then once they put their solution and their voice, we'll have somebody recording that. And we plan I know we can't get every city official in the same room at the same time, but certainly we can take it to the city council, somebody and say, this is what our young people said. This is what they want. Say, for example, somebody, I'm just saying, for example, somebody may say, can we get a pool at Franco Hunter Park for that community? Do you know what that would do? That to put a public swimming pool at Franco Hunter Park. Somebody may say, "Can we get a water park like they have in Baton Rouge somewhere?" I'm not talking about water pads. This water that barely cool you off. Why can't we do that? Uh, and so those things will be presented, and we'll be asking for some action. And we're not just going to present that to them. We want to present this to the community who's giving out funds. You got what is that? Rapides Foundation. You got churches, and make it happen. You present their issues and make these things happen as we present it to them. So number one, as to answer your question, we want to present it to them. Hopefully they would have heard some of their cries, some of their solutions. If the city officials, and I hope they do something, if the city official, and they've done, I'm not saying they haven't done anything, because they have, but we're hearing what the young people saying. We're not just going to lean on the city officials to do it. We'll lean on the ministers, the community leaders, the pastors, the lay
Mhm.
people in the churches to make it happen. We have the funds. Trust me, we have the funds to make things happen, and
That's
so we want to make it happen,
yes,
and
sir.
not just lean on the community.
Yeah, yeah. And here's Keandra Ford. She said, I believe we get caught up on the conversation behind the why disconnect with the youth exists, and we fail to act and make purposeful connections with them. They are hungry for it and will rise to expectations set for them, but it takes true actions.
That's right.
What you say about that?
No, I agree. I mean, I completely agree. I don't want to try to interpret. Have you ever been present when somebody you make a statement and somebody say, "Well, this is what he means."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't know what I mean. Let me tell you what I mean. Don't try to tell me, and most of the time you misinterpret what the person means. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we have to make that connection with them.
Mm-hmm.
I met a young man I was passing out flyers talking to the assistant principal at Peabody High, and he grabbed one of the young men, and he told him about what was going on or what would transpire on, in first Saturday in January. That
Mm-hmm.
young man said, I already have questions and my statements on my phone. And he had never heard of what we were trying to do. I said, you save those questions and those statements and your expression, you bring them the first Saturday in January. And
Mm-hmm.
we want to hear what you have to say.
Right. Oh, wow. Well, I tell you what, Dr. Franklin, can you go ahead and before we get out of here, can you go ahead and tell us about the event again? When is it going to take place? And that was one of the questions that some of the comments when we put the announcement out there. We need to hear from the youth. And I said, I'm not going to tell it. I'm going to let Dr. Franklin tell them what they plan on doing. And so, can you go ahead and give us the rundown on the event on the first Saturday?
Okay. It's it's called Real Talk
Mm-hmm.
from our young people. That age group is from 12. Yeah, I guess I know it's a large span, but that's the age group that's being affected.
Yeah.
When you see a 12-year-old bringing a gun to school, and you had kids even younger than that who have brought guns to school,
Mhm.
but uh, it's designed to allow real talk. That's why I say real talk from the young people.
Yes, sir.
We're not talking to them; they're talking to us. They're expressing how they've been affected by the crime and how been affected by the violence, and then they are saying to us as we listen, uh, "This is what I feel." We because you talk about that's a disconnect. Now they're saying we, yeah, this
Mhm.
age group. This is what we feel we need,
Yes, sir.
and so we're asking you to do these things, suggestions, solutions that we need. Somebody will be there recording what they need as they speak because the mic is in their hands.
Mhm.
And they're telling us how they feel and what they feel that they need. That's the first Saturday in January, 6 o'clock at the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, 3148 Lee Street. But it's all about that particular age group. And I'm quite sure, Brother Jack, that when we hear that stories, because normally we bring in speakers and we talk about what we want to do. But when we hear that story, it's going to bring tears to some of our eyes. But I hope the tears will dry, and then that we will leave that place with a heart to do something, and it's not just an event. I strongly believe that the Lord Himself inspired us to do this. Because
Mhm.
if anybody heart that's bleeding, it's God's bleeding.
Yes.
Because He has called us to action. When we say God loves you, God doesn't say I love you. He proved it. If you know what John, everybody knows, if you're a Christian, John 3:16. But God so
Mhm.
loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Christmas was just yesterday, but he did something. He put that into action. And so we're not only want to tell the young people that we love you, we want to put it into action. They don't want to know, the old saying that said they don't want to know how much we know. They want to know how much we care, and they
That's
want to see that into action. And so hopefully after this particular event, um, we'll see something in action. I do want to put in there that there is a young man between that age bracket that will give his testimony. It's not centered on a testimony, but it's centered on the whole young people as a whole that will give his testimony and what happened to him as he was involved with drugs and alcohol and all kinds of things. And now this young man accepted the Lord as his savior, and his whole life has changed. And now he's a he's a pharmacist now, with his
mhm.
doctorate, and he's married with children, and he's made progress, and he wanted to share that testimony with somebody. I said that's a good platform between your age group to share that. you know.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Dr. Franklin, we certainly look forward to uh, being there to cover it and talk about all of the good stuff that you guys are doing, and just to hear what's going on. Did you have anything else that you wanted to bring before us before we get ready to get out of here this evening?
I just want to certainly thank you for this opportunity.
Hmm.
Uh, I also want to say that I thank God that He that He encouraged you to do this,
Hmm.
because it's all about, really, for me, it's about giving God the glory. And I think if we help His people, and in particular His age bracket that we've targeted, that it'll make a difference to Him.
Hmm.
And so if you want to make a difference, please come out. This is not just a program. I don't criticize any other program. I commend all of those who are doing things. And I know, Brother Jack, that there are some people even in this city that's doing great things and have made impact. But let's put all this together and let's make a glorious impact for the name of Jesus.
Well, Dr. Franklin, I definitely, we over here at Urban Cast definitely know that. We haven't put the stories out, but there was the Good Deeds Sisters. There was, you know, so many organizations that True Vine Baptist Church, and just on and on and on. I can't even think of all of the names
Hmm.
of all of the stuff over this season, from the Manor House to Walmart neighborhood grocery stores, to all of these different organizations, the State Fire Marshal, the
Yes.
Rapid Parish School Board, coming together to help make sure that people had, food, you know, during Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Hmm.
And you see all of these organizations that are doing it, and you definitely can't say people are not doing anything, because it's a lot of work being done out
That's
there,
right. That's right.
and so many of them that are doing the work, they don't even ask for attention. uh, they just feel compelled to get out on boats and feed, uh,
Hmm.
compelled to go downtown and open their truck and feed somebody, or give them clothes, whatever it is. It's just so many that are out there doing it, and they don't, those unsung heroes out there that we don't even know anything about it.
You're certainly right. You're
Yep.
certainly right.
Right. So, we certainly see you, and we thank you for what you're doing in our community, and that kind of thing. Dr. Franklin, I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights and wisdom with
You're
us tonight.
welcome. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you what you and Shiloh are doing, along with the coalition. Your dedication to our community is truly commendable. From all of us at the Let's Talk Show, Urban Cast, involvedinall.com, we want to extend our deepest gratitude. We also like to thank our followers for joining in tonight, and listening to what Shiloh had to say, and Dr. Franklin. We also want to thank our partners, Sadler's Towing, Long's Products, and Legendary Kung Fu and Tai Chi. We couldn't do this work that we are doing without their support as well as those of our followers. I definitely want to say to everybody, have a great evening. Until the next time. I'm going to go ahead and end the live, Dr. Franklin. If you
Okay.
just hang on in there. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you now.